alien warrior left for dead after losing her legs, only a human Marine refused to leave her the acrid stench of plasma burns. Scorched earth-filled Marine Sergeant Edward Kane's nostrils as he picked his way through the battlefield's aftermath. Bodies of both human and Syreen warriors littered the ground, testament to the ferocity of Thorny's engagement. His combat boots, crunched over crystallized sand, transformed to glass by energy weapon discharge. "Mess," he muttered, checking. His rifle's charged, the indicators showed 43% not great butano to get him back to. Friendly lines if he could find them. The rest of his squad was gone, their biosignature swinking. Out one by one during the chaotic retreat, now he moved alone through the alien world's rust-colored dunes, guided only by his suit's compromised nav system and pure stubborn instinct. A weak groan caught his attention. Edward spun, weapon raised, scanning for the source there behind a twisted piece of wreckage that mightn't have been a hover tank. He approached cautiously. Years of combat experience, keeping him alert for traps. What he found stopped him cold. A female Syreen warrior lay sprawled in the sand, her pale green skin made even more ethereal by blood loss. Her combat suit, a form-fitting black affair that left little to the imagination, was torn and charred, but what drew his attention with devastating injury below her knees. Both legs ended in cauterized stumps, likely from a plasma mine. He breathed. Her gray-white hair was matted with blood and grime, but her face remained, striking even in agony as he watched. Her eyes fluttered open, revealing irises the color of Arctic ice-ish, saw him, and immediately tried to reach for a weapon that wasn't there. The movement sent fresh pain across her features. "Easy," Edward said, keeping his rifle lowered but ready. "I'm not here to hurt you." She spat something in her native tongue that his translator rendered as particularly creative or vanity. Despite himself, he grinned. "Quite a mouth on you for someone in your position. Kill me or leave human," she growled in accented standard. "I need nopity from your kind." Edward studied her for a long moment. By all rights, he should put her out of her misery, or just walk away. She was the enemy her people had started this war. Protocol was clear about engaging with captured Syreen. They were too dangerous to risk close contact, but something made him hesitate. Maybe it was the fierce pride still burning in those ice blue eyes, or maybe he was just tired of leaving bodies behind. "What sire name?" he asked. Instead, she stared at him like he'd grown a second head. "What's your name?" "I'm Edward Kane." "Seems only polite. If I'm about to save your life, you're insane," she said flatly. "I am Nira Valor, warrior of the 3rd Blade Cohort. You cannot save me. My people have already retreated. They know I am lost." Edward shrugged off his pack and began pulling out medical supplies. "Good thing I'm not your people." "Then the blood losses clearly affected your mind," Nira said. But he noticed she made no move to stop him as he prepared a trauma kit. "Why will you help me?" "Because I can," he replied simply. "And because I'm starting to think this war is stupid in a without," adding one more corpse to the pile as he worked to stabilize her injuries. Edward couldn't shake the feeling that this moment, this choice, would change everything. He just didn't know how yet. Edward carried Nira through the crimson dusk, her slight form cradled against his chest, his combat suit servos softly compensating 4th extra weight. The Syreen warrior had finally passed out from exhaustion and blood loss, though the emergency medical nights she'd administered were keeping her stable. "Just hold on," he muttered. More to himself than his unconscious, his suit's sensors had detected a structure ahead. Some kind of ancient ruins partially buried in the sand, perfect for laying low until he could figure out their next move. The ruins turned out to be the remains of War Research Station, its angular architecture half swallowed by centuries of wind-blown sand. Edward picked his way carefully through a partially collapsed entrance, scanning for threats, finding none. He gently laid down on a relatively clean section of floor. The interior was surprisingly intact, with emergency lighting still functioning on minimal power. Ancient research equipment lined the walls, covered in a thick layer of dust. Whatever the Scientists had been studying here. They left in a hurry. When the war broke out, Edward set up a temporary camp, laying out thermal blankets and setting up portable heaters to ward off the desert worlds. Bitter night chill, he was just finishing when Nero stirred, her ice blue eyes fluttering open where she started trying to push herself up. Easy there, Warrior Princess, Edward said, moving to steadier. Safer now, found an old research station. She glared at him, but allowed him to help her sit up. I told you to leave me. Yeah, well, I've never been great at following orders, especially his topid ones. He handed her a canteen drink. You lost a lot of blood. Nero chepted the water with surprising grace, taking careful sips. You are either the bravest or most foolish human I've ever encountered. I get that a lot. Edward grinned. How are you feeling? Like I stepped on a plasma mine. Her attempt at dry humor surprised a laugh out of him. The pain is manageable. Now your medicine. Nan eats, he confirmed. They stabilizing you and preventing infection, military grade. She nodded, then looked down at her truncated legs with a grimace. I am crippled as a warrior now. Edward said firmly. Ever heard of PR aesthetics thing? Right? Cybernetics, and you'll be back in fighting for, might even be faster than before. My people, do not she. Pause. Considering. We believe in natural perfection. Augmentation is seen as weakness. No offense, but that's stupid, Ashel, Edward said, checking the perimeter sensors. He'd set up. Nothing wrong with using technology to overcome limitation, shows adaptability. Nero watched him move around the room with an unreadable expression. You are not what I expected, Edward K. How so? Our intelligence suggests humans are savage, bloodthirsty creators who care only for conquest, yet you show mercy, kindness. Even she tilted her head. It is confusing. Edward sat down across from her, close enough to talk comfortably, but maintaining a respectful distance. Maybe your intelligence needs updating. We're not all bad, just like I'm betting not all Syreen or the emotionless killing machines are propaganda makes you out to be a ghost off. A smile touched her lips. Perhaps she shifted, wincing slightly, though I must admit some of our beliefs about human male attractiveness appear accurate. Edward nearly choked on his water. I'm sorry. What? Naira's smile grew more pronounced. Oh, did your intelligence not mention that many Syreen find human males quite appealing? Something about your rugged features and muscular builds. Her eyes traveled over him appreciatively. Though you are an especially fine specimen, i.e. Edward felt his face heating up. That's good talk now. She laughed, then a surprisingly musical sound. You face death without flinching. A yet simple flirtation makes you blush. Fascinating. In my defense, most enemy combatants don't usually compliment my physique, he managed, trying to regain his composure. There, Naira said, with a predatory grin that sent shivers down his spine. And not entirely unpleasant ones. The moment was broken by a distant rumble that shook dust from the ceiling. Both warriors tensed. Years of combat training to king over artillery. Naira asked, already reaching for a weapon she didn't have. Edward checked his tactical display. No seismic activity. This whole region is geologically unstable. Another reason. It was abandoned. Wonderful, she muttered. Sewer hiding in ruins that could collapse on us at any moment. Look on the bright side, at least we'll have company if we get buried alive. He quipped. Your attempt at humor needs work, she said dryly, but he caught the hint. Oh, famousment in her voice, as if to punctuate her words. Another tremor shook the station, this one's stronger, causing loose debris to rain down around them. We should move deeper inside, Edward said, already gathering their supplies. These outer Atimbas are too exposed. Nira nodded in agreement, then looked down at her legs with frustration. What a word. Edward moved to her side and scooped her up again. This time she wrapped her arms around his neck. Without protest, my hero, she purred in his ear, sending another of those pleasant shivers through him. Behave yourself, warrior princess, he growled back, earning another musical laugh as he carried her deeper into the ruins. Edward couldn't help but marvel at how quickly their dynamic had shifted. Here they were sworn enemies by circumstance, trading, flirtatious. Banter while trying to survive, it was insane. It was probably treason. It was also the most alive he'd felt in years. The third tremor hit, without warning, stronger than the previous two combined. Edward barely had time to shield narrow with his body as the ceiling came down around them. His combat suits, shields flared, deflecting the worst of the debris, but the thunderous cascade of falling rocks seemed endless. When the dust finally settled, they found themselves trapped in a small chamber, the entrance complete liseled by fallen debris, emergency lighting cast. Everything in an eerie blue glow. Well, Edward coughed, checking his suit's diagnostics. This is cozy. Nira shifted in his arms, her breath warm against his neck. Your talent for understatement is remarkable. She pouted, then added with a sultry tone, though, I can think of worse situations than being trapped in close quarters with a handsome human. Warrior Edward felt his pulsa quicken at her words. The small space left them pressed together, her lithe form fitting perfectly against him. You're injured, Hera reminded her and himself, and we need to focus on getting out of here. My injurious are stable thanks to your nanites, she countered, trailing a finger along his jawline, and my people have different vi.